Every morning, millions of people grind beans, pour hot water, and drink a cup of coffee to create the energy they need to start the day. But caffeine creates exactly zero energy. To understand why, we have to look at this neural circuit. The brain measures your daily fatigue using a molecule called adenosine. As you stay awake, adenosine builds up and docks into specific receptors, signaling your nervous system to slow down. Caffeine doesn't give you fuel, it simply rushes in to physically block those adenosine receptors, temporarily hiding your natural exhaustion. Your brain notices the missing signal and responds mechanically. It builds new receptors. When the caffeine wears off, usually triggering a mid-morning crash, that delayed adenosine floods the system. To reach the same baseline tomorrow, you now require a higher dose. This introduces the concept of the biochemical debt. When you consume caffeine, you are not waking up. You are pressing the biological snooze button on inevitable fatigue, taking out a loan that must be repaid with interest. We see this in the mid-century ritual of the smoke break. The cigarette was marketed as an essential tool for workplace focus and social connection. But the relaxed clarity a smoker feels isn't a benefit of the chemical. Nicotine metabolizes rapidly. Between cigarettes, the brain enters a state of mild withdrawal, causing rising tension and irritability. A new dose doesn't calm the mind, it merely stops the internal tremors created by the last one. Alcohol operates as a highly effective social lubricant, but biologically, it is a neurotoxic depressant. It works by turning up GABA, the brain's main braking system, while simultaneously turning down glutamate, the chemical responsible for accelerating neural activity. Your cortex slows down, lowering physical inhibitions and silencing your internal critic. These everyday substances are legally validated, but they are essentially chemical pause buttons. While the user feels a temporary sense of relief or sociability, their internal laboratory is working overtime to process the toxins, sending the bill directly to the liver and the brain's long-term memory. In environments engineered for high-intensity sociability, users often turn to stronger stimulants to manufacture artificial confidence and endless stamina. Looking at this animated circuit of the brain's reward center, the nucleus accumbens, we see the natural GPS system being hijacked. Normally, dopamine rewards survival behaviors. Here, the drug forces a massive release of dopamine, flooding the circuit and tricking the brain into logging the substance itself as the single most important objective. But that euphoric surge requires a brutal physical cost. Stimulants cause severe vasoconstriction, shrinking blood vessels while forcing the heart rate to spike. And when cocaine is mixed with alcohol, the liver synthesizes cocaethylene, a significantly more toxic compound that puts even greater mechanical stress on the heart. Methamphetamine pushes the system even further. By forcing an artificial flood of dopamine and noradrenaline, it creates an illusion of extreme productivity, keeping a user awake and moving for days. Meanwhile, the neurons themselves are entirely depleting their chemical stop, ensuring a profound physical and cognitive crash. Stimulants offer a conquest ritual. They inflate the ego and create a feeling of invincibility, while underneath, the cardiovascular system is pushed precariously close to structural failure.
Other substances are used to hack empathy and perception, relying heavily on the set and setting, the user's mindset and their physical environment to dictate the outcome. MDMA bypasses natural social bonding by emptying the brain's entire reserve of serotonin into the synapses at once. It forces a profound feeling of connection and warmth, but it is renting that love, not creating it. Once the few hours of forced empathy are over, the neural stock is exhausted, leading to days of severe emotional flatness. Cannabis uses THC to bind to receptors heavily concentrated in the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory. It amplifies immediate sensory details, but effectively mutes short-term memory, making long-term anxieties difficult to hold onto in the moment. These molecules provide an escape from the friction of daily life. However, they rely on a finite chemical supply. They turn down the volume on reality, but only until the serotonin runs dry and the muted problems return. The deepest biochemical hacks originated in clinical settings. Pharmaceutical sedation, whether through anesthetics or pain relievers, was designed to make physical surgery and unbearable trauma survivable. But using these tools for recreational escape introduces a lethal mechanical risk. Opioids bind to receptors that stop pain signals, but they simultaneously suppress the brainstem's drive to breathe. The gap between feeling euphoric and experiencing complete breathing failure becomes terrifyingly narrow. Benzodiazepines act on that same GABA braking system we saw with alcohol. They increase the frequency of chloride channels opening in the neurons, forcing the nervous system to hyperpolarize and slow down. What starts as a targeted cushion against panic attacks rapidly alters the brain's baseline, creating a state where normal daily stress becomes unmanageable without the drug. Psychedelics like LSD and psilocybin take a different route. Instead of numbing the system, they disrupt the default mode network, the brain circuits responsible for our sense of ego and routine thinking. They temporarily dismantle the user's perception of reality, forcing a total and sometimes deeply anxious reassembly. Ultimately, the most powerful depressants and opioids act as a biological mortgage. They offer a short-term analgesic loan against emotional or physical pain, but use the fundamental reflex of human breathing as collateral. The human brain operates on a system of absolute accounting. Every artificially induced peak forces a corresponding valley. The neural pathways adapt to whatever chemicals are introduced, constantly adjusting their baseline to try and maintain basic survival. Because of this mechanical adaptation, craving a substance is not a moral failing or a simple lack of willpower. It is a biological reflex. The brain has literally rewired its own circuitry to demand the chemical just to reach a functional state of equilibrium. You cannot bypass the mechanics of your own biology without eventually paying the toll. Every shortcut, every borrowed hour of focus, and every forced moment of peace is a debt that will inevitably come due. When we recognize the mechanics of these substances, we can look past the rituals and the marketing. We can start asking exactly why we feel the need to alter our baseline state in the first place. If you want to keep exploring the hidden systems that drive human behavior, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Comprendre comment son cerveau se fait piéger, c'est la première étape pour reprendre le contrôle.